Hey guys, it's Shin again from Pendit, and today I'm in HSB and I'll be going over the Pilot Vanishing Point, the only pen in my collection that's click retractable. Try saying that 5 times. It's great. People, when I pull this thing out, which is not often, for the reason it's a matte pen and I kind of fear I might scratch it here or there. But when I do pull this out, people are astonished by the nib. They think it's a regular pen, and when I don't hand it to them, they're like, "Oh, come on, it's a regular pen." I'm like, "No, it's not." And then I show them the pen and take it apart, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And they always ask because they know I like fountain pens. They always ask, "How do you fill this thing?" And it's technically a cartridge converter. And I'll show you how to take this pen apart in the writing sample. It's a cartridge converter that is, well, like retractable. The only thing is, once you have to fill it, you have to take the whole thing apart and then fill it through there. But it's not that bad. Trust me, it's not that bad. It's a super nice pen. I got this one with a stub nib, and these nibs are 14 karat gold nibs. Sometimes you will find them as a special alloy nib. Now, those nibs are just steel nibs with gold plating on them. Sometimes they don't even have gold plating on them. The special alloy nibs pens are much cheaper, maybe like $40, whereas the gold ones are slightly more expensive, and the stubs are slightly more expensive than that. But I got this as a gift. Thank you. You know who you are. I got this as a gift. I've been giving this pen so much love at home. This is literally the only thing I use. It's kind of fat, but I get over it pretty fast. It's not uncomfortable in the hand, and for maybe short bursts of writing, it's pretty good. Maybe like your page in my journal, it's pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to go from top to bottom, and then I'm going to tell you about every aspect of the pen, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and then do a writing sample. Cool? Okay, now the cap. Okay, there's no cap. Yep, there's no cap on this thing. It's a click retractable pen, so it doesn't need a cap. But let's just say the top part. Now the top part has a small hole which the nib protrudes out of. If you look super closely while it's moving, there's a flap that's like rubber sealed through with a gasket that keeps the nib wet. I haven't had any issues with this drying on me, even though there's no cap per se, and that's just saying something about the mechanism that seals the nib. Now this is a stub, so that might have something to do with it. Not completely sure. If you have an extra fine, do let me know. These things are available in extra fine, fine, mediums, broads, and a 1.1 stub. And you can also have them custom ground with your favorite Nebmeister. Yeah, I haven't had anything custom ground yet. I really want to. Binder, if you're watching this, I want an architect nib. I'm going to send one to you. Please get in touch with me. All right, so right below that, there's a clip. Now this clip does its job. It springs open, not by much, but you can like get it open like this. The only issue is while you're writing, the clip does get in the way, but it also forces a grip, which is good, especially if you have a stub nib. Now this whole pen is matte, but right below the clip, there are two shiny sections that show where you can unscrew this and fill it or clean it out. Below the whole pen tapers up slightly, like up there, and then tapers down. Now, right down here, there's a sort of step down. You can't call it a step down. It's like a thing that screws onto the pen, which you can't remove because it's also glued. And right below that, there's the mechanism to push it open. It's pretty long once it's extended, but once the nib is out, this doesn't come off at all, and it doesn't even like come out. Usually, plastic pens, the thing comes out, right? But this doesn't. Now, this nib, as you can see it, you can barely see a breather hole, and the nib is super tiny. It's even smaller than the Lamy 2000 nib if you've taken the whole nib apart. It's a super skinny nib, which I'll show you in the writing sample, which I'm gonna go to right now, and I'll see you guys soon. Alrighty, guys, this is the writing samples for the Pilot Vanishing Point. Before I start with the writing sample, I want to take this guy apart for you. All right, so it kind of screws off at this kind of thing. It's shinier than the rest of the pen. It screws off, and then you can see this. It just pops off pretty easily. Now this whole thing is the nib. This whole thing is the nib. This whole long thing. In order to fill it, there's a breather hole right there. So you have to like dump the whole thing in. This is about maybe 1.7 centimeters long, so you need a significant amount of ink to actually in your bottle to actually properly fill this pen. But you can also like take this converter off and just fill ink directly in there, or you can even use a cartridge. Now, if you're using cartridge, there's a metal cap which does come with the pen, which you do need to use because this thing pushes on the backside of this, and if the plastic on the cartridge is pretty thin, so it's not gonna like last very long. But it's super easy putting it back together. You just have to be careful that the nib is pointing the same direction as the cap. So oops. So it just goes in there, and there's only one way to put it, right? Because of this knob, which you can see over here. This knob, it only allows you to put it one way. Okay, and then you just screw it back. Super simple. And I'm just gonna go to the rank sample right now. Never get old. Never gets old. Alrighty. So this is the Pilot Vanishing Point, and it has a 1.1 millimeter SU nib. I don't know what the SU stands for. I've asked Susan from Goulet. She doesn't know either. I don't think anyone does. It's I don't know. If you do know, put it down in the description. Curious to find out. Right? The ink is Iroshizuku Shinkai, which is a blue black. This is what it looks like. And here it is against Germain Blue Nuit and Pilot Blue Black. These two are much more similar than these two, even though these two are from the same company. It's super nice. Iroshizuku inks don't give me flexibility with paper use. I have to use them with like Rhodia paper or maybe Apica or Kokuyo. I can't use them with anything. Pilot Blue Black, I can. And this has some permanence to it as well. But this shade's much better than either of those two. Okay, I'll show you the writing sample. Okay, it's slightly scratchy, just that's because of the SU nib, but it's not scratchy enough for it to be a pain. Don't get me wrong, this is a very nice nib. It's 14 karat gold nibs. It's a 14 karat gold nib, and the Pilot 14 carats are pretty soft. They're more like 18 karat gold nibs. Right, let's try out some flex, and you can also see the stubby nature of this now. Okay, maybe a little later. It does flex, not much because it's such a small nib, and then this part of the pen actually stops you from flexing it all the way. Now I'll show you the true stubby nature of this guy. Right? Thin, and then it flexes out quite a bit. For everyday writing, for everyday flourishing, this is super nice. But if you're like doing like dip pen calligraphy, this touches nowhere near that, trust me. On the side stroke, it's pretty okay. It's not dry. The up and down stroke, just because it's a stub, it's pretty down wet. Right? For the signature, which I do like using my stubs with, or stubs for, I'm sorry, or my music nib, it does nicely. It gives you some feedback. It's not scratchy. There is some feedback to it, but it's not scratchy at all. There's no skips. It shades well for this with this ink, even though it's a pretty dark ink. As you can see up here, shades pretty nicely. And there's literally nothing else for me to say, so I'm just going to stop here and say thank you, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, thanks, guys. That's it for me for the Pilot Vanishing Point. I hope you liked that. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, stay safe.